There we go. All right. So, Bindu, just as you walked in, I asked, did anyone have any wins this week? Anyone have anything exciting happen this week, whether it have to do with success in your business, success in your life? Unfortunately, one of our members tonight, Brad, I hope you don't mind, Brad Wally lost his mom this past week, and so uh, my support, my prayers go with him. We all know what it's like to lose somebody that close in your life, and we're here to support you, my friend.
Yeah,
Yes,
actually, I just started writing professionally, as I have told you all. And recently, my first story, uh, I have asked someone for some advice whether what I should do for making it beautiful. And the person, after reading it, he said he's going to give it to publish in a magazine here, and it's given.
Awesome. Congratulations, Bindu. That's exciting. That's exciting. Publishing your story, getting it into a magazine. Think about the impact that you're going to have on the lives of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know, here's an interesting thing. Every one of us, when we study what we study, when we talk about what we talk about, when we are out in our community, have the opportunity to impact people. And the key is we don't know who that person is.
Yeah.
We don't know who that person is. It was a couple of weeks ago. I was at one of my local American Legion events that we do. The Marine Corps League does some charity work, and one of my Marine Corps League detachment members was in the room, and he said, "Hey Frank, I love your quotes on Facebook every morning." And I said, "Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that." I said, "Just so you know, I do it for me to start my day right." And he says, "Yeah, but what you don't know is how you've helped me through the troubles that we've gone from Hurricane Ian." And his house is still being reconstructed from a hurricane that happened 3 years ago. So you just don't know the little things that we do, the kindness that we show, the messages that we share. We don't know who it's going to impact. So if you've got something positive to say, I used to say, if you've got something to say it. No, if you've got something positive to say, share it, because there are a lot of people out there that need to hear what it is we have to share. Hello, Nicole. I feel like I just saw you.
Hey, I know. Yeah, I do have something positive to share, but I know I just popped in, so I'll let others go
No,
first.
go for it, Nicole. You're in because we're going to get started in a minute.
Okay, well, I mean, similar, I was kind of sharing part of this with you this morning that we it's so true that sometimes just the smallest things, just sometimes even a smile or making eye contact with somebody or the smallest gestures can make such a big difference. But as I was sharing with you, Frank, that being newer in town, and I think most people here have heard kind of my interesting story. And while I have many great things going and a pretty good online community, there is still a part of me that has been longing for just somebody in real life, right? The IRL experience to just sit down with and kind of let loose for a little bit, because there's plenty of serious things, and just to have that light moment. And I had a discussion with somebody last week about that, and I go, well, you should go out, you should go do this, you should go. It's like, okay, how like what's wrong with you? Can you like and I'm not really good at initiating those things. And lo and behold, I was having an eyeglass appointment, and this lovely lady and I, she was friendly, and we were just chit chatting like loosely, and we have unbelievable stories that are so closely matched. It was like out of a movie, and a few minutes of chatting, we just got up and hugged each other like, oh my gosh, like to find somebody to not only listen, but who actually understands something that would seem so unbelievable, and we could laugh about it, brought so much joy. And I was, saying to Frank, I've been so closed off and so private for so many years, and to just have such a beautiful exchange. And actually, we're having dinner on Saturday, like blew my mind. Like I am so happy and so uplifted. It's like winning the lottery. I can't even tell you how I feel. And if I hadn't been going through this program and sticking with these principles and staying optimistic. I mean, Frank's definitely seen me through a few tough moments, but overall, like just sticking with these principles and knowing better things are on the way, and that through our minds we can overcome anything no matter what. I don't even know if I would have been receptive to that. And the fact that we were so open and have such not just shared experience, but she's like I said, a couple of years ahead. Like she went back, got this degree, got this thing, and I was just like, I'm like, you are where I want to be in a year or two. And so in any event, I just share that, like, sometimes that stay curious, that be open, because you never know what's coming your way. So there's my good news to share for the day.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, Nicole. Congratulations. And I've had a little bit of time to think about what we discussed this morning. And here's the deal, guys. Whatever gets thrown at us, life has this habit of throwing us curveballs. And whatever life throws at us, it's a test. And it's an opportunity at the same time. It's and my understanding of, whatever you believe in, whether it's Buddha, God, the universe, uh, it throws us tests to make us stronger and to give us opportunities to understand who we really are. And so if you look at it from that perspective, it's not why is this happening to me? It's why did he choose or she choose me to go through this experience? And then from my perspective, one of the most important principles that Napoleon talks about is the mastermind principle. And I think it's the most important principle because when we're faced with challenges, we often feel we often feel like we need to handle this alone. We hide, we're embarrassed, and we don't ask for help. And the thing is, it's okay to ask for help. That's coming from a United States Marine, just so you know. It's okay to ask for help. And if you ask for help, what you're going to find is you definitely do not have to do this alone. And oftentimes, people are just looking for someone who's looking for help, right? So keep in mind the mastermind principle with whatever you're going through, and open arms. Come on, come and talk to me. Here we go. Let's see what happens. And oftentimes, those are the conversations, Nicole, that end in a hug. And I'm a hugger, just so you guys know. Yeah, I'm a Marine, but I'm a hugger. So I just hug everybody because people need support. That's just the
You
bottom
said
line.
that beautifully.
Thanks, Nicole. I appreciate that. So look, I'm going to share my. Does anyone have anything else they want to add? Because I'm going to share my screen. We're going to jump into the confession continues. I'm hoping everybody can see my screen. I'm trying to get better at this technology thing. I remembered to press record and the screen's up there. So here we go. Who's going to play? See, I get stuck with playing the devil, so I know my role. Who's going to play Napoleon Hill today? How about somebody who hasn't played yet? Who wants to read? I'm, yeah, Napoleon starts, so somebody's got to raise a hand.
I can read, Frank.
Awesome, Brad. Here we go. It's on you.
If this confession of yours stopped right here, your statement would be sound. But fortunately for millions of your victims who will gain their release because of your confession, this interview will continue until you have supplied me with a weapon by which you will eventually be restrained from domination of people through their fears and superstitions. Remember, Your Majesty, your confession has just begun. After I wring from you a description of the methods by which you control people, I will force you also to give the formula by which your control can be broken at will. It is true, I shall not remain here long enough to defeat you, but the published word I leave behind will be deathless because it will consist of truth. You fear the opposition of no individual because you will know it will be short, but you do fear truth. You fear truth and nothing else, for the reason it is slowly but definitely giving human beings freedom from all manner of fear. Without the weapon of fear, you would be helpless and entirely unable to control any human being. Is that true or false?
It is true. I shall not remain here long enough to defeat you, but the published word I leave behind me will be deathless, because it will consist of truth. Indeed, Napoleon Hill passed away in 1970, and this work being published in 2011 becomes deathless. I have no alternative but to admit that what you say is true. So, guys, before we move on with this, what did you take from that short passage? The message that, Napoleon's question to the devil, and the statement that he wouldn't live long enough to defeat it, but we would. I mean, that's what I heard. What did you hear?
I take from it that the truth, while it might be slowing coming out, it's eventually going to come out, even if it's not within like or short lifetimes. Eventually, it'll come out.
Yeah, and yeah, Sean, that's awesome because we live such a short lifetime in the span of things, right? We're here for a flicker of eternity, and the things that we deal with, the things that we're having to deal with, and I'm often struck by this book was published in 2011, but it was written before Think and Grow Rich, which was published in 1937. And I find it interesting that the topics that are being brought up are still so true today. The fear, the hatred, the inability to get along. All of these things are being impressed upon us to divide us, right? I mean, it's all about division. When if I just read, I picked up a small book I'm reading right now, Napoleon Hill's Life Lessons, and it was written by, I've got it right here on my desk, Judith Williamson, with excerpts from Napoleon Hill's works in The Law of Success, Selling You, and I believe also parts of Think and Grow Rich. And they're talking about things that are happening, that were happening then, that are still happening now, that cause us to be divisive amongst each other. And one of the things that they talked about was apparently he wrote an essay in regard to tolerance. And I'm going to be doing a video on it probably tomorrow for my YouTube channel. And the tolerance was, basically it was, can't we all just get along? It doesn't matter about religion, doesn't matter about race, it doesn't matter about your personal beliefs, doesn't matter about any of that stuff. You have a right to all those things. And we have a right to pursue anything we want as long as it doesn't hurt, it isn't harmful to other people. Right? So what all the way back then, and yet still today in 2025, we're dealing with the same subjects. I have to believe that there is some stronger force that is trying to defeat those of us who have positive thoughts, kind thoughts, and want to help other people. That's just simply trying to divide us, because that will be the destruction. So we can't let that happen. Right? So that's just my thought. Anybody have an opinion about that?
Yeah, Frank, it's Nicole. I completely agree. I think that's kind of the insidious nature. I heard on some event a couple weeks ago, someone describing it almost like a virus, right? Of kind of that underlying, I mean, I don't know, evil is the right word, but that that's ultimately, what divides us, that gets into people's minds and it shows up in our various actions, right? It's not some big dramatic thing, but it's that over time, it's all those small activities, those small thoughts, that fear that keeps people down. And there's certain people that are sort of tuned into that, right? And shining the light a little bit brighter and out to help people, that kind of have a greater sense of that.
Yeah, it's and it comes from everywhere. I mean, it's there's messages. I don't. I'm actually afraid to even turn on the news anymore because you don't know what message you're going to hear. You don't know what truth you're supposed to believe. And at the end of the day, Napoleon often writes about not being so much concerned about other people's opinions or other people's reports of what's going on, but to look into our own minds, do our own research, and make our own decisions, because really those are the ones that matter, right? And so don't let other people in. There's so much influence out there. It's easy to be influenced and get lazy and not think, research for yourself and figure out what the truth, going back to the truth statement, what's the truth? And in today's day and age, especially, I think that's even more important than it's ever been, because we were attacked by so many different directions. So with that, Brad, it's on you.
All right, now that we understand each other, let us go ahead with your confession. But before we continue, I may as well take time out to do a little boasting on my own account now that you have had your fling at it. I will confine myself to one question, the answer to which will give me all the satisfaction I want. Is it not true that you control only the minds of those who have allowed the drifting habit to be fixed upon them?
Yes, that is absolutely true. I have already admitted this truth in a dozen or more different ways. Why do you tantalize me by repeating the question?
There is more, or there is power in repetition. I am forcing you to repeat the highlights of your confession in as many different ways as possible so your victims may check this interview and determine its soundness by their own experiences with you. That is one of my little tricks. Do you approve of my method?
You couldn't be setting a trap for me for the purpose of doing some more boasting, could you?
I am asking the questions and you are doing the answering. Go ahead now and confess why you are powerless to stop me from forcing this confession from you. I want your confession for aid and comfort to victims of yours whom I intend to release from your control, or from your control the moment they read your confession.
I am powerless to influence your control or control you because you have found the secret approach to my kingdom. You know that I exist only in the minds of people who have fears. You know that I control only the drifters who neglect to use their own minds. You know that my hell is here on earth and not in the world that comes after death. And you know also that drifters supply all the fire I use in my hell. You know that I am principle or form of energy, which expresses the negative side of matter and energy, and that I am not a person with a forked tongue and a spiked tail. You have become my master because you have mastered all your fears. Lastly, you know that you can release all of my earthbound victims whom you contact. And this definite knowledge is the blow with which you will deal me the greatest damage. I cannot control you because you have discovered your own mind and you have taken charge of it. There now, Mr. Earthbound, that confession should feed your vanity to the bursting point. Says the devil, I cannot control you because you have discovered your own mind and you have taken charge of it. This definite knowledge is the blow with which you will deal me the greatest damage. Brad.
That last dart was unnecessary. Knowledge of the sort I have used to master you does not contaminate itself with vulgar indulgence and vanity. Truth is the one and only thing in the world that can stand ridicule. Now let us continue with your confession. What is wrong with the principle of flattery? You use it, do you not?
Do I use it? Man alive, flattery is one of the most useful weapons. With this deadly instrument, I slay the big ones and the little ones.
Your admission interests me. Go ahead now and tell me how you make use of flattery.
I make use of it in so many ways, it is difficult to know where to begin. I warn you, before I answer in detail, that publishing my answers will bring down an avalanche of ridicule on your head for bringing up the question.
I'll take that. I'll take the responsibility. Proceed.
Well, I may say, well, here admit that you have stumbled onto the major secret of how I convert people to the habit of drifting.
That is a startling admission. Go ahead with your confession and stick strictly to this subject of flattery. No more side remarks and no more facade, facadness,
Facetiousness, you got it.
facetiousness. Thank you for the present. Tell me all about your use of flattery and gaining control over people.
Flattery is a bait of incomparable value to all who wish to gain control over others. It has powerful pulling qualities because it operates through two of the most common human weaknesses, vanity and egotism. There is a certain amount of vanity and egotism in everyone. In some people, these qualities are so pronounced, they literally serve as a rope by which one may be bound. The best of all ropes is flattery. Flattery is the chief bait through which men seduce women. Sometimes, in fact, frequently, women use the same bait to gain control over men, especially men who cannot be mastered through sex appeal. I teach it to use to both men and women. Flattery is the chief bait with which my agents weave their way into the confidence of people from whom they procure information needed to carry on warfare. Wherever anyone stops to feed this vanity on flattery, I move in and begin to build another drifter. Non-drifters are not easily flattered. I inspire people to use flattery in every human relationship where it is used is possible because those who are influenced by it become easy victims of the drifting habit. Says the devil, flattery is the chief bait through which men seduce women.
Can you control anyone who is amenable to flattery?
Very easily. As I have already told you, flattery is a major importance in alluring people into the habit of drifting.
At what age are people most susceptible to flattery?
Age has nothing to do with one's susceptibility to flattery. People respond to it in one way or another from the time they become conscious of their own existence until they die.
Through what motive can women be most easily flattered?
Their vanity. Tell a woman she's pretty or that she wears clothes well.
What motive is most effective in harpooning men?
Egotism with a capital E. Tell a man he has a strong Herculean body or that he is great business tycoon and he will purr like a cat and smile like an opossum. After that, you know what happens.
Are all men like that?
Oh, no. 2 out of every 100 have their egotism so thoroughly under control that even an expert flatterer couldn't get under their skins with a double-edged butcher knife.
How does a cunning woman apply her art of flattery in attracting men?
Great heavens, man. Do you have to draw a picture of her method for you? Have you no imagination?
Oh, yes, I have imagination enough, Your Majesty, but I am thinking of the poor dupes of the world who need to understand the exact technique with which they may be flattered into the habit of drifting. Go on and tell us how a woman can harpoon rich and presumably smart men.
This is a devilish trick to play on women, but since you demand the information, I am helpless to withhold it. Women influence men through a technique consisting first of ability to inject soft, cooing baby tones in their voice, and second, by closing their eyes into a half-closed position which registers hypnotism in connection with the flattery of men. I am sure there are a few women agitated by this. In fact, I was at first. Roll your eyes and keep going. There's truth here.
Is that all there is to the business of flattery?
No, that is only the technique. Then comes the motive a woman uses as a lure. The type of woman who perhaps have in mind never sells a man who herself or anything she can give to him. Instead, she sells him his own egotism.
Is that all that women use when they wish to flatter men?
That is the most effective thing they use. It works when sex appeal fails.
So I am to believe that big, strong, smart men can be wound up and manipulated through flattery, just as if they were so much putty. Is that possible?
Is it possible? It's happening every minute of the day. Moreover, unless they are non-drifters, the bigger they come, the harder they fall when the expert flatterer moves in on them.
Tell me of some of your other tricks with which you cause people to drift in life.
One of my most effective devices is failure. The majority of people begin to drift as soon as they meet with opposition. And not one out of 10,000 will keep on trying after failing two or three times.
So it is your business to induce people to fail whenever you can. Is that correct?
You have it right. Failure breaks down one's morale, destroys self-confidence, subdues enthusiasm, dulls imagination, and drives away definiteness of purpose. Without these qualities, no one can permanently succeed in any undertaking. The world has produced thousands of inventors with ability superior to that of the late Thomas A. Edison. But these men have never been heard of, while the name of Edison will go on marching because of Edison's converted failure into stepping stones to achievement, while the others used it as an alibi for not producing results.
Is the capacity to surmount failure without being discouraged one of Henry Ford's chief assets?
Yes, and this is the same quality is the chief asset of every man who attains outstanding success in any calling. The capacity to surmount failure without being discouraged is the chief asset of every man who attains outstanding success in any calling. In the book 3 Feet from Gold, my co-author and I interviewed more than 35 of today's top leaders, not about their success, but about their toughest moments and how they persevered to achieve great success. For example, Julie Crone, the first woman who ever inducted into the Thoroughbred Hall of Fame, with 3,704 victories under her reigns, described her struggles at the beginning of her career as a jockey. Many of the horse owners simply would not hire a woman jockey. She said her motto of perseverance was, keep showing up. She said, I discovered if I showed up every day and did my best, eventually they'd put me on a horse just to get rid of me. The rest is history. Julie was named as one of the toughest athletes of all time by USA Today.
That statement covers lots of territory, Your Majesty. Do you not wish to modify it or tone it down a bit for the sake of accuracy?
No modification is necessary because the claim is none too broad. Search accurately into the lives of men and women who achieve enduring success, and you will find without exception that the success has been in exact proportion to the extent that they surmounted failure. The life of every successful person loudly acclaims that which every true philosopher knows. Every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. But the seed will not germinate and grow under the influence of a drifter. It springs to life only when it is in the hands of one who recognizes that most failures are only temporary. They are only temporary defeat, and who never, under any circumstances, accepts defeat as an excuse for drifting.
If I understand you correctly, you claim that there is virtue in failure. That does not seem reasonable. Why do you try to induce people to fail if there is a virtue in failure?
There is no inconsistency in my claims. The appearance of inconsistency is due to your lack of understanding. Failure is a virtue only when it does not lead one to quit trying and begin drifting. I induce as many people as I can to fail as often as possible for the reason that not one out of 10,000 will keep on trying after failing 2 or 3 times. I am not concerned about the few who convert failures into stepping stones because they belong to my opposition anyway. They are the non-drifters and therefore they are beyond my reach. Okay, I want to take a break right there because that's a lot of reading and not a lot of conversation. So we need some conversation. I'm going to stop the share, and here we go. We're in the room together. That was a lot of stuff. What stood out the most to you in the room? I'm sure some of the ladies had some things to say about the comments about women. That's cool. I like that. I agree with some of that. So what do you got? I can't have a conversation by myself.
And I'll start, Frank. I mean, as tough as it is to admit, I think there is a lot of truth in that. Not that everyone necessarily falls prey or even does that on purpose. But I remember, I'm trying to think of the name of the book that I read when I was getting my master's. And I remember thinking at the time, like, wow, is that really true? But it was talking about that currency in the workplace, that it was something like men's is, like productivity, innovation, and ideas, and it was women's tends to be vanity. And, I remember just being like really twisted up about that. Um, but I do think there is some truth in that. I also think that, I do think that's, look, we're making wild generalizations, right? This is not like everybody every time, but I do think that sometimes that's sort of the default. Um, being a woman, I will say, I'll say from my experience, I can think of, gentlemen that I'd worked with who, when they really needed something, whether it was my boss or a peer or whatever, and I think more in jest really than like, as purposeful as, we're talking about in this book, but it was like, oh, hey, right, you look so nice today. Do you think you could go, whip up this report or blah, blah. And it's, I think that's a minor instance compared to what we're talking about, but it's along the same thread. So in any event, I don't want to offend anybody, but in any event, there's my 2 cents on that.
There's no judgment in the room. We don't allow that. Okay. So, but what's interesting is, of course, remember when this was written, right? And
Yep.
so from the context of the era that this was written in, it was very, very common. It was a man's world.
Yep.
And a woman's role was depicted as something completely different, from my opinion, than what we see it as today. That doesn't mean it doesn't still happen today. So I think it depends on the person. I have met some
Yep.
extremely strong women who I respect 100% for what they do, regardless of who they are. Gender has no place in my mind. But I still see the manipulation on both sides, right? Hill talks a lot about sexuality and the power of charisma and all of that. And there are some people still today in 2025 that play that up on both sides of the gender scale. All right.
Agreed.
So there's no judgment going on in here. We're not going to offend somebody. I think we all know who we are and what era we live in today, right? But at the end of the day, it still happens. And to me, that's simply amazing that it still happens and it's still a technique that people use to gain position, to negotiate, to play game as a chess piece to get where they want to go. And so I think it's really important for us to be aware of it when it's happening, right? And frankly, put it in its place in the best way possible. Because that's the only way we can defend it. Is no, that we don't do that here. I mean, we had a conversation in this room, I want to say probably 6 or 7 weeks back, which tended to get a little bit too political. And I shut it down. This is not a place for that. And I think when those instances happen, someone has to step up and say, no, no, that's not what we're doing here. We're all in here together to talk, to share, to support, to help. And everybody has a right to a difference of opinion. But we're not going to discuss that stuff in this room, right? Because it skews off, right? It goes to a different direction, and it's a dangerous place to be. Respect the right of a difference of opinion and be an adult enough to have a conversation that doesn't judge or criticize anybody else. Pursue what you want without harming anyone else. That's what I take from that. So this was a lot of dialogue, and it was very sexist in a lot of different places. So anyone else have any comments about what we just read? Come on, Bradford, you were playing Mr. Napoleon. Let's go.
Yeah. I really think that there's like a baseline of flattery that all of us ties into. So you come in, you have a nice polo on today, Frank. If you were to come in and your face was completely filled with dirt and you hadn't showered in a week, we might look at you different. And I think it's a little bit different when you use that flattery for manipulation, and trying to get something you want. And I feel like that's what they're talking about in this, in that first portion of the chapter was using it to your advantage to get something. Versus there's a baseline that we all want to be presentable to one another, and we've formed a baseline expectation as a society, and so that's what I got.
Yeah, so being authentic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you see someone you haven't seen in a while, and authentically they look like they've maybe lost some weight, and maybe your first comment is, "I mean, you look great." I mean, this morning when I met with Nicole, I said, "Nicole, your hair looks different today." I mean, that's an authentic piece of flattery because it's real. But if I showed up in a torn t-shirt and a muddy face, and well, yeah, I am unshaven, but that is what it is. But and you say something that's not real, then you're obviously looking for something. I mean, have you ever been in a situation where maybe you walked into a retail establishment, or maybe to buy a car, and you can tell that there's some undeserved flattery going on to kind of soften you up for the kill, you know? And I think that's what he's talking about here. We don't want to use flattery for manipulation. It's perfectly, I mean, flattery in another word is kind, being observant, acknowledging someone's achievement of maybe losing some weight or, great hairstyle or whatever, great dress, but it shouldn't go so deep that it starts to feel, manipulation is what I smell every time that kind of happens. All right, enough with the kind words. What are you trying to get out of me, right? So great thought, Brad. Thank you. Great thought for that. Yes, sometimes it's real and sometimes it isn't. Emmanuel.
Yeah, I think one thing I liked is how the devil is presenting failure as a tool used to limit people from pursuing their dreams and goals. And I think it's really true. Many people have given up on their dreams and goals after failing one or two times. And we have seen examples of those people like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, those who were persistent in following their dreams despite the cause of failures. And we can see that many people really drop their dreams because of failing one or two times.
Emmanuel, thank you for that. My question to all of you is, so why is failure such a bad thing for us? Why does it have that kind of impact on us? How did we learn that failure was bad?
You ever get an F on your report card, Frank?
I'm the red F kid, my friend.
I've had a couple.
I often introduce myself to some of my audiences as that I am the red F kid. And what that meant is you could give me advance notice of 6 months to do a book report or a thesis, And I would wait till sometimes 24 hours before it was due. And then that red F was blazing so loudly in my eyes that I simply had to do something. And full disclosure, I think I'm still that guy sometimes, but at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. We are raised and trained that that F is a bad thing. You failed. How dare you? And it's judgmental and it's hurtful. And I remember people working so hard to make me mediocre at the things I wasn't good at. Why didn't they just simply acknowledge the things that I was good at and help me master it at a young age? So failure, only when we are educated to understand that failure is not an event. It's, I'm sorry, failure is only an event. It's not a destination, right? So you can fail and you can fail multiple times in your life. The only thing that makes you a failure is if you stop getting up, right? So if you fail and get knocked down to your knees and you don't get back up, then yeah, you failed. But if you failed, you get up off your knees, you scrub off the scabs from falling on the ground, you brush up the dirt and say, I'm coming back after you. I'm not done yet. Well, you haven't failed. You simply stumbled. And stumbles we can get over, right? So the devil's saying in his words that he loves having people fail because most of them won't continue after the second or third failure. They'll just throw up their hands, I'm done. Now, how true is that in our lives? How many people have seen that happen? How many people might have experienced it and let it happen to you? You didn't pursue a dream because of X. And you just say, I'm not meant to do this. You don't have to raise your hands. I think it's probably happened to all of us at some point. We gave up a dream because it was harder than we thought. We got knocked down a couple of times. And then criticism, poverty, those six ghosts of fear that come up, all of a sudden made us, oh, I guess I should just be real and just do the things that I can do to make it through. I just had an interview today, guys, with one of my coaching clients, and she's a dear friend. And she's in the real estate industry and she's going through rough times right now. And all she wants to do is survive. And I get that. But I said, what's wrong with success? Why can't you succeed where you are right now? Why do you just shoot for survival? You just want to make enough money to pay the bills. That doesn't help anything. So why is your goal so low when you have and she truly has the capability to achieve success? So first we have to define what does success mean to her. And here's the thing. So Cleona, our CEO, talks often about our relationship with money. And many of us don't have a good relationship with money. And this individual during our conversation today, her definition of success was making enough money to pay the bills. And honestly, I felt for her at that point because there's plenty of money out there. We just simply have to decide if, I mean, money's a tool. Just so you guys all understand, money's a tool to me. Money doesn't mean anything. It's just a tool for us to get to where we want to go. It actually helps us help other people if that's what your goal is. So there's nothing bad about money. But having such a low perspective, I just want enough to pay the bills. That's what puts people in drifting mode. They drift from consequence to consequence. And we have to encourage people that they are so much better than that. Get knocked down on your knees, get back up. Get knocked down on your knees, get back up. Get knocked down. Goodness gracious, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison both failed thousands of times in many of the experiments that they were going. Matter of fact, I read a passage today. I was trying to wonder which one was true Because I've been told that Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times at creating the light bulb. Then I found out today he failed 10,000 times at creating the voice recorder. Okay, so which one was it? Did he just like failing or what? I mean, 10,000, that's 20,000 fails. Give me a break. So, but he kept pushing through because he wouldn't accept failure. All he accepted that was, okay, that one didn't work. So when we face failure, can we face it with the attitude of, okay, that didn't work. What can I do differently? Never what can I do better? Always what can I do differently? What did I miss? And then we achieve the success that we want. So I would ask you guys, what is your definition of success? In what you do, where you are in your lives right now, what is your definition of success? Mine is simply, I just want to impact the lives of others. I don't need to make a ton of money. I want to be impactful. And how do I know when I'm impactful? People tell you when you impact them. They tell you, thank you. If I get one thank you a day, I'm good. Because I know I did what my mission is, which is to inspire and to positively impact of other people. So what's success mean to you? And you can share if you like, but you don't have to. I don't want to, I don't want to put anybody on the spot. But at the end of the day, the devil fears people who can overcome fear or failure. He fears them because if you keep pushing, he can't stand up to you. She can't stand up to you, whatever it is, right? At the end of the day, are you willing to do whatever it takes? I listened to an interesting podcast interview. It was yesterday. So my real estate coach in business, when I was going through a difficult time, was Brian Buffini. And Brian Buffini is his home base is out of Carlsbad, California. From what I understand, he now lives in Hawaii, so he's done very well in his life. And he was interviewing a gentleman by the name of John Gordon. And if you're not familiar with John Gordon, John's an author. He's written several books. He grew up in poverty. He grew up in a very negative atmosphere, a very negative environment. And at one point in his life, in his marriage, his wife said, "If you don't stop being negative, I'm leaving." And he changed. And there was a book that was gifted to me by one of my colleagues. It's called The Energy Bus. If you haven't read The Energy Bus, you should. It's a great book. He's written other books, but that's the one I remember because it's the one I read. And he's just recently come out with another book called Seven Commitments. And he gave me a bit different perspective on goals because we all have goals, right? We all set goals. We study these principles. We have to have a definite purpose. We got to have a goal. What are we trying to achieve? He said, but a goal is very different than a commitment. A commitment means you're committed. You're not going to give up. You do whatever it takes to achieve it. How many of us, myself included, have set goals and didn't achieve them? Oh, so you weren't committed enough, right? Because if you're committed, you're going to make it happen. And that gave me an entirely different perspective about the word goals. A goal is nothing, I mean, it's better than a wish, but not much. So that's why I think, and what I teach is, if you set a goal, you have to answer the next question. Why? Why do you want that? Why is that important to you? And Dean Grazioli, if you want to check him out on YouTube, he has an exercise called 7 levels deep. We also do it within NHI. So go 7 levels deep. When you ask yourself, why do you want that? Answer the question and then ask the question again. Well, why is that important to you? Then answer the question and answer that again. And why is that important to you? And I'll be authentic with you guys. I never get past number 5 before I start to come to tears because I'm digging deep into my soul to answer the question, why is that important? And oftentimes, today's day and age, it comes down to my granddaughter. And it's, what am I going to do? I'm doing whatever I do today to hopefully impact her. And I imagine that will change at some point, but I doubt that it's going to change before I die. Right? And so if you think about it, ask yourself, why do you want that? And it's the why that gives you the energy to commit to whatever it takes. Now, you guys all know I'm a retired Marine, and my Marine background is we have to accomplish the mission. So for me, we accomplish the mission at all costs, whatever it takes. And sometimes that means loss, sometimes it means death, sometimes it means a lot of things. But whatever it takes, we have to achieve the mission. What's your mission? What are you committing to? Why are you even here in this room tonight? Because as my friend Cleona says, we're not here to entertain. We're here to learn, support, and help each other to achieve our missions. So we don't often go too deep in this session. I mean, we have some great conversations. We get some chuckles and some laughs. But when I talk about commitment, what do you think about? I'm going to shut up now. Brad, I thought you were reaching for the mute button. Anyone have anything to share? Remember, judgment-free zone. You know, when I have this large portions of silence on the recording, when people watch the replay, they said, what did Frank do? What happened? Sean, come on, you just came off vacation. Give us something.
Okay, commitment. What I can say is just as a man, if you give your commitment or if you give your word, that's supposed to mean something. If you don't live up to your commitment, then that's not good for you, and not even how people will look at you. It's overall how you have to. You're being if you're gonna. So my thing is, I'm either gonna do it or I'm not. But what I try to do, I'm not perfect. If I commit to something, I'm going like all in, and I'm going to try to come up with a plan. It doesn't have to be like a 100-point thesis, but if I'm going to see if I can first. But I'll tell people because sometimes what you're saying with flattery, some people try to get your commitment. And I can tell you this: your commitment to something is that's a lot. If you're going to commit to something, that's a lot. I'm probably rambling, but that's how I overall look at it.
No, I think it's great. I said, the only thing is what makes it a difference if you're a man or a woman, right? I mean, commitment's commitment wherever it comes from. And something I read, I believe it was this morning, it might have been yesterday. If you say you're going to do something, just do it. Just do it. And if you can't do it, give the person that you committed to enough time to react to the fact that, hey, look, I made a mistake, Nicole. I told you I was going to do something, and I just realized today I just can't do that. And I want to give you enough heads up. If I get a little bit more time, I can get it done, but I can't do it in the timeline that we talked about. Not the day before, oops, I didn't do it. Right? I mean,
Yep.
commitment can have a lot of different images in our minds, but I think at the end of the day, it just comes down, if you say you're going to do something, then simply do it. And if you can't do it, admit that you made a mistake. Hello, own it. I made a mistake. I can't do that. I don't have the support I thought I had, or I just don't have enough capability in my schedule to meet that deadline. And if you do just that, you're going to be so far above everybody else around you. I mean, how many people tell you every single day that they'll do something and they don't even show up?
Huge pet peeve.
That they don't even show up. We had a guy here recently. What we were doing? What was he doing? He was going to. We were going to get a quote on getting a paint job done, and the guy says, "I'll be there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock." Of course, he wasn't there at 10 o'clock. And my wife sent him a message. Hey, where are you? It's 10:30. You're not here. Oh, I had something else come up. I'll get to you in a few hours. A few hours? Really? And so that wasn't acceptable, but we gave him a second chance. rescheduled for another day. He scheduled for 10:30 in the morning. He didn't show, and he texted my wife at 4:30 in the afternoon, I'm on my way. Don't bother.
I say, do
Go
not
away.
bother.
Don't bother. Go. But guys, this happens on a daily basis, right? So, Sean, you're absolutely right. If you say you're going to do something, just do it. If you can't do it, what's wrong with saying I can't do it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. My schedule's too tight. I've got too many clients. I'm sorry, I just can't be there. I can refer you to somebody else who might be able to help you sooner. There's so many different ways out of that cage. But why would you tell? Who could possibly think you can not show up for one appointment and then try to show up for another one 7 hours later and think you're still going to get the job? I mean, really? Is that the society that we're in? Absolutely crazy. Anyone else have an experience to share? We got about 4 minutes, so I'm not going to start on a new reading. What do we got? Anybody?
Hey, Frank. So, a lot of what you've been talking about with some of the problems, I feel like are so generational. And you even mentioned your granddaughter. And I think of when your ultimate end goal is completing the mission that you can't even see the end result of, that's huge, and it's like so easy to to get set back from or get discouraged, but you get to see the little movements. And I don't know where I was going with that, but that's what I was going to say is that, some of these problems that, and I heard somebody say at one point, I think of somebody talking to their wife, you could be talking to her grandmother, about some problem that her grandmother faced in her early years that she's facing now because it was never addressed, And so I just think, yeah, had to share that. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of I don't know for what reason, Brad, but when you were just sharing that story, I'm remembering the story of a mother and her daughter cooking the Easter dinner. And the mother's preparing the ham, and she cuts off both ends, and she puts the ham in the pan. And the daughter says, "Why are you cutting off the ends of the ham?" Well, that's what grandma always did. And so let's call grandma and find out why. And so they call grandma and they say, Grandma, why did you cut off both ends of the ham before you put it in the pan? And grandma says, because I didn't have a pan big enough. So there was no rationale to it. It was just she didn't have a big enough pan. So she cut off both ends. But for generations, it was going on that this is just how we do things, right? So I think, Brad, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think what we're kind of looking at is we need to look at reality, what was going on, why did they do things the way they did it? Why did they do things the way they did it in our society as we got to where we are today? Why are we still doing those same things today that are obviously ridiculous based on 100 years of research and living on this earth? Why don't we make changes? Why don't we make things better? Why don't we start judging people for their religion, their race, whatever it might be? Why, why don't we just treat people kind and with respect until they give us reason not to? I mean, at the end of the day, can't we? Yeah, very simple statement. Can't we all just get along, right? I mean, Joel, Marine, you're like an hour late, dude.
Yeah, are we really?
Yeah, we started at 7 o'clock, man. Eastern
Seven
time.
o'clock Eastern time.
Guys,
I did
introduce you
not.
to my friend Joel Cruz, fellow Marine, who obviously forgot that I'm on the East Coast. My fault, Joel. I should have emphasized Eastern Standard Time. Uh,
Yeah, here I am logging in like a couple minutes early.
I love it. I love it. And this is life. All right. So, Joel, we're just getting ready to wrap it up, but I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and we'll expect you on time next week.
Yes, I'll be there next week for sure on time at 6 o'clock my time. My name is Joel Cruz. I am a Marine Corps veteran. Uh, um, I am studying psychology at the University of Alabama. I'm a part of a couple veteran organizations where I like to contribute my time, and I'm also being trained in to be a nature therapist and a life coach for Napoleon Hill Institute as well too. So very glad to be here, and I apologize for being late today.
You know, I couldn't let you go without busting your chops a little bit, brother. We're good. We're good. It happens to all of us. I usually show up an hour early and say, "Where the hell is everybody?" So I've got 8 o'clock. Does anyone have any final comments they want to add from tonight's session? I'll go around the horn. Emmanuel, you good?
Yes.
All right. Sean.
Yeah, I'm good. Good stuff tonight.
All right. Great. Brad.
I'm good as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Bendu, you've been so quiet this evening. Anything to add for us tonight?
Yeah, I think I'm committing something right now because yesterday I've gone to meet our old neighbor friends, and I was really shocked to know that a person who was I considered as a little sister of me, I was really shocked to know what she was going through the last 20 years. She didn't see anyone anything all these years. And yesterday she had opened up to me. I tried to convince her whatever things I have learned and how I have reached this level to be cool at anything and how to succeed. I can understand because all these hardships she has gone through, it's difficult for her to accept the things. But if I can bring a smile on her face, I have succeeded. I'll say I've succeeded.
You know, Bindu, you should be honored that she opened up to you. And, just be there for her. That's the best we can do, right?
Yes.
And try to help her along the way. And I don't have no idea what she's been dealing with, but if it's been going on for 20 years, I'm sure it's something monumental. And, you know that my prayers are with you to help serve her and to be the friend that you can be, to be the sister that you can be, right? So thank you for sharing that. And if you want to talk at some point offline about that, I'll be happy to connect with you and do that. Okay?
Okay.
All
Thank you
right,
so
my
much.
friend. Thank you. Nicole.
A great discussion tonight, and yeah, Bindu, my prayers and thoughts are with you.
Stella. Yo, Stella.
Eh, Yeah, it's been very interesting. There's just one thing that stood out is that I never viewed anything that I did as not being successful. I just looked at it as an experience and what I've learned from it and grew from what I learned. Um, because I've had wore many hats. And when I left one area of work, it wasn't because I wasn't successful. To me, it was because it was over. The experience was over. And I just carried that experience over to the next thing that I was wanting to take, my next goal.
I love that. Love that. Stella, that's an inspiration for everyone. And in the words of Napoleon Hill, I'll wrap this up with every adversity, every failure provides us with an equal or greater opportunity for success. And oftentimes it shows up as a seed. It's not something that just is blatant that we can see. So we have to look for the opportunity and then nurture it from there. So with that, guys, you only fail if you quit, so don't quit. Keep moving forward. I look forward to seeing you guys all next week. Same time, same channel, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We started at 6:45 for a little bit of networking at the beginning. And I want to thank all of you for being here You guys give me purpose, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, Frank.
All right, good night, guys.
Thank you so much.
Good
Hey,
night, Sean.
Frank.
Good night, everyone.
Good seeing you back, guys. Joel, we'll catch
Great.
up with you soon, bud. I'll give you a call maybe
Yes.
sometime tomorrow. You got time?
Yeah, I got time.
Okay, I'll give you a buzz tomorrow.
Okay, sounds
All
good.
right, brother. Good night, guys.